Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to bring this show to you today. There's going to be a lot of valuable information, and this will be on how you can accentuate what you've got, as well as work on confidence to turn the volume up a little bit on becoming more magnetic. So I can see we've got some soul family here in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hi, Tim. Hi, Seema, Rainbow Sun, and Jody. So lovely to see you guys here. And yeah, with this one, I'm going to talk about astrology too. So we're going to get into your astrology and how you can kind of activate your magnetism a little bit. So I've got quite a few notes to go through. And before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys, we have Soul Alchemy Potions. And the potion that we're going to be centered around, or what sparked the idea around talking about becoming more magnetic, was the love potion. So you can see a close-up version of this here on the website. You can see cardamom and rose and cinnamon, some lavender. Let me just see what else I've popped in it. Oh, and some rosehip as well. So this is my potion that I'm drinking this morning or tonight, where you guys are. And you can see here, it's a really beautiful color. My one I have brewed a little bit stronger. Sometimes I'll do a warm, like a stronger one, sometimes a cooler one. But I wanted to remind you guys that if you have purchased a potion, after you do so, you'll get sent a link to join our magical manifestation heartfelt connection. So this is an online event that will be running on the 1st of September if you're on the Eastern time zone in Canada and the States, or if you're here like me in Australia, it will be about 6 a.m. in the morning on September 2nd. So I think it's 4 p.m. if you're in the Eastern time zone. And you've got all the details here. So we're actually going to be kicking off with a live soul family chat. And we will be seeing each other sort of face to face, all on the screen together, and we'll have a little bit of a chat and get to know each other. And I want to really connect you guys with our soul family on a deeper level. So I want you to find out, like, if you're in similar cities, because a lot of people have really expressed to me in the one-on-one readings that they've felt alone, or they felt like, that they might be sort of by themselves in their city. So I really want to network and get you guys linked together so that you know that you're not alone. And we have such beautiful soul family. I think we are like the luckiest channel in the way that we all love and support each other. So I really wanted to have this space to bring everyone together. So you will get sent a free link. If you didn't want to purchase the potion, you can actually purchase, it's $48.88 Australian if you want to gain access to this, if you haven't bought a potion. And this is just to cover like the running behind all of the setup that I've had to do to get it going. And we're also going to kick off this with a meditation leading into a special manifestation. So that will go for 90 minutes all up, roughly, give or take. And what we'll do is we'll be releasing some things, and I'm going to getting you into a space of regulating your nervous system around your goal that you're working with. So for example, on love potion, you might be working with, you can see here the little affirmation: I am magnetic. My heart is open to receiving love. So you might be working with calling in love, or working with soulmate manifestation. So I want to start regulating your nervous system for what it is that you're calling in. So we're going to set you up in a space with that. I'm going to have a very special meditation, and we'll then head into a 16-hour, it's like a repetitive affirmation thing based on Robert Milligan's work. So I want you guys to set yourself up with silence for the day. If you can lock yourself down in a room, if you are living in a house with others like I am, you'll need to remind them that this is like, oh, thank you, Lorianne. Yeah, it was my birthday yesterday, but it's my birthday still in the States and in Canada. So double birthday blessings. But yeah, so I want you guys to be able to create a space at home if you can, or if you can't, even maybe to go to an Airbnb or something like that for the weekend could be really good. But essentially, we're going to be repeating the same affirmation, and I'm going to help you guys to pick exactly what is perfect for you, because sometimes the wording will be off. So I'm going to go into a technique that we use in kinesiology to make sure that you're using an affirmation that's congruent and aligned with what your subconscious belief system can run with. So we'll be doing this. And what will be happening, I think you're done, what will also be happening at the end of that 16-hour repetitive affirming is you're actually going to be reprogramming and sort of putting a massive reset into your subconscious mind. So I encourage you guys to all join us for that. It's going to be so great to see each other together. If you are a little bit camera shy, you don't have to turn your camera on. There might be one or two people that have signed up that are a bit more camera shy. We do have quite a few people coming so far, so I'm really excited for this. So today I want to talk about essentially becoming magnetic. So this is a really, I don't know if it's because I'm like Leo with a Leo North Node and Leo Mercury. But yeah, this is one thing I'm fascinated by. And I think it's also my background of, working in beauty in the past and working as an advanced skincare practitioner and specializing in anti-aging and all those wonderful things. This is something that I'm so interested in. I have this internal quest to find the fountain of youth. And I feel like it's this need to want to share it with everyone, because I feel like with aging and everything, it feels like a process that's inorganic, or it feels like something that we've had our genes tampered with. And I know when we look to the Anunnaki and we look to telomeres with the caps on the end, something has come in and actually interfered with our DNA. So I feel like the more that we can sort of work with enhancing things and coming back into like our God-centered self or our higher self really being exonerated and shining, I definitely feel that we've become more magnetic. If you guys can pop in the chat to be like really interactive in this, I want to find out if you can pop your Sun and Venus sign together, maybe in all caps, that would be fantastic, because that's what we're going to be talking about today too. So essentially, the more that we tap into our confidence, oh, you're so cute. Thank you, Lorianne. Yeah, that's so cute. We've had lots of fairies lately. And hello, I just see Emma joining us as well. Thank you to everyone just joining us now. Hey, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here for this show. You're going to love this one. This is a really great topic. This has probably been the one that I've looked forward to. And I don't know why I've put it in. It's like the sixth one in terms of like the potions that we're talking about. Oh, great. Lorianne's Sun and Taurus, Indigo's Sun and Venus both in Aquarius. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a fun one when we talk about that. So in terms of like being more magnetic, the more confident we are, or the more that we can sort of walk into a room, and we all can sort of think of a person that has this aura or this energy of confidence around them. And so it does make someone attractive, even if perhaps like the physical attributes might not be like typically aesthetically what we would deem as attractive. And there's a whole heap of other things that go into this. And we're going to talk about golden ratio, Fibonacci stuff today. I'm going to show you how to kind of, I guess the younger kids, like my daughter's age, the Gen Zs talk about looks maxing. Is like a common hashtag that you see on TikTok and things like that. We're going to be talking a little bit about the looks maxing side of things, for lack of a better word, or to kind of know the hashtag. Oh, okay. So Lisa, I can see you said Sun Capricorn, but you don't know your Venus. If you're able to enter while we're chatting, guys, go into Cafe Astrology, put your birth chart details in, then have a look next to where it says Venus and check where yours is. So mine is in Cancer. The gorgeous Sophie's is also in Cancer. But you can see how our sun signs can change the vibe of it a little bit. So I do want to combine our sun sign and our Venus sign today as well. Oh, Jody, I can see that with you. That's a gorgeous combination. So yeah, I will be popping out some of yours and giving examples too. So with the confidence side of things, now this is sometimes where tapping can be really good. We did that in the affirmation or the abundance. We did an example of the EFT tapping to help clear abundance blocks and things. And I might do one in the future around confidence, because I think that confidence, and I know and I feel that confidence is one of those things that impacts and covers all area of our lives. So if we can work on our confidence as that one thing, it's going to be a ripple effect and really just change your whole life. So one of my favorites, and let me just bring this up. I haven't actually typed this in. I'm just going to go into YouTube. There is my favorite, or one of my favorite hypnotherapists, Paul McKenna. And I'm just going to bring up, I actually have his app that I bought years ago. And you'll see here, let me just bring up my little screen share. So if you go into YouTube, you want to be looking for Paul McKenna. And let me see if I can find, it's called, let me just type this in. I can make you confident. And let's see what comes up. So you might find it in one of these. Oh, here we go. It would be probably this one down here. My sound won't, but I just wanted to highlight so you guys can see. It says Paul McKenna, official confidence guided hypnosis. I'm going to drop this into our chat. And this is one that I've worked with for maybe like 10 years. One of my gorgeous best friends, who is a psychologist, also has worked with a lot of his stuff too. So please go try this later on after. And listening to this, I guess, a bit more repetitively, if you listen to it morning and night for about 2 weeks, you will actually notice the shift and change. So this is a really, really good thing. Oh, thank you, John. Cool. John has put up another one as well. So you can use this to find your signs. And this is Astro Seek. That is another good one. And yeah, Lorianne, tapping is really beneficial, as we saw with a few people getting some good shifts around abundance and the other ones. And yeah, please do go check out Paul McKenna's confidence work. So I've noticed massive changes with how I feel and act after using that. And what's interesting is you forget essentially why you were doing the confidence hypnosis or meditation work. And what you notice is, and I just saw that it was 11:11, John, when you put that comment up. Thank you, Lorianne. 11:11 on your comment too. So yeah, essentially what happens is that you start to actually shift your reality without even realizing what it was that you changed that became different. So you really are rewiring the subconscious mind and changing your program or your story. This is also where affirmations can be really good too. I've written down here as well the Marilyn Monroe effect. So you might have heard me talk about this on other shows. And what I talk about or share is there's a story with Marilyn walking with a best friend. I think it might have been her makeup artist wife or something like that. But anyway, the story goes that she was walking through Central Park with her friend, and everyone's just walking past, not really sort of paying attention, not noticing her. And Marilyn turns and says to her, "Do you want to see me become her?" And she's like, okay. And all of a sudden, all these people start coming over. Everyone starts recognizing her. Hey, John, lovely to see you here too. So what the Marilyn effect essentially is turning on this inner light or this confidence. So it's much to do with being like what we call main character energy. So essentially you want to channel yourself as like the main character in a story. The other thing that people talk about with this is, and I've shared this technique on another show too, but say that you're going to a party or you're going to like a business networking event or conference or something, there's a technique where you visualize like before going in, and you visualize that you have this sunlight coming out of you, and you visualize each of the corners of the room being like a spotlight that's shining on you. So this creates an energetic invisible grid that puts this magnetic kind of light within your aura. And it's funny, I've shared the example, but I want to share it in this show for someone that might have missed it. So I shared the example before going to an event with one of my gorgeous stepdaughters, and I was teaching her how what we hold in our thoughts and our mind and consciousness and our auric field, how it really will affect into the physical realm. And I remember saying to her, for this day, I'm going to visualize that I have this sunlight shining out of me. And we get into the city, which is like an hour away. And as soon as we get out of the car, we have people come up and just magnetically get drawn and start talking to us. And she's looking at me and she's like, that never happens, you know, if I'm with other people or things like that. Then we get into the conference, which was actually the Tartaria event. And there was about 5 people individually that day. that said exactly the words that I told her in the morning, which was, "There's something that's just like sunlight just shining out of you." So she was looking at me, and I'm like, "See, what we program and what we hold within our auric field, others pick up on." So if we're feeling like a little bit fidgety, we're not feeling, centered, or we're not feeling confident, people pick up on these subtleties. So that's why doing the confidence clearing, the tapping, doing the meditation and things, like I was pointing out to you guys, is of utmost importance. And all of this essentially, like if you're going to a job interview or something like this is really, really valuable information as well. The next thing that I have written down, and I know, John, you're a big one for this, John Krez that we have here, one of my best friends, head heart coherence meditation. So whether it's working with heart math, or whether it's, feeling into your heart and aligning your mind with that and feeling that expand, because this is all working with our magnetics and working with our auric field. So this will help to charge up and to expand. And you can visualize like walking in and radiating or expanding a light. The other thing you can do if you do have, cool. Thank you. The other thing you can do too, if you have a job interview or if you're on a date, this is another good time to use this. And this is just some fun little magic that you can work with. You can play with it going into the shops. But yeah, really sort of like holding this main character energy. So if you're not feeling so confident yet in your own skin, in your own self and who you are, you can actually take on a character or sort of like a persona. So think of a movie that you like, or think of like a character in a story, or even better still, create your own character. And the thing is, the reticular activating system in your brain actually does not know the difference between real and imagined. So you can start programming and giving it a new story to run with around the character that you are as well. So this I find is a really great technique. So you could walk into a job interview with the mindset, of course, I always get, I always get like first and best offer. So using affirmations around that too. If you do have a charge that is resisting in this, it is really important to clear that beforehand and to choose an affirmation that feels congruent and integrative with your belief system. So I've used this time and time again to pick up roles that I've wanted with jobs and things. It works really amazing. You guys have heard me talk about marriage proposals and things like that too. So it is really interesting when you start to play with this influence that we have energetically and aurically. The other thing that I've written down is to be conscious and aware of your body language when you're working with becoming magnetic. So the other thing too is if you're talking with someone, you want to make sure that you're looking at them. And I don't mean like a hyper stare, but you want to make sure that you're engaging, that you're in the present moment, that your energy is centered, that you're aware and you're not distracted, and really sort of even affirming back that you're hearing. So if someone's talking to you, maybe saying, "Oh, that's really interesting that you had this, and this happen." So you're making them feel seen and heard. So that is also like feeling magnetic. And we understand that people also like to talk about themselves too. So asking them questions about themselves, even if it's a job interview situation, this could be a really good thing too. And in terms of body language, getting a little bit deeper, when we look at neurolinguistic programming and we look at even data from the FBI and when they're assessing characters and things, not only do we take into account facial expressions and microfacial expressions, and I forget the exact data, but most communication is picked up subtly through micro expressions, movements, gestures, body language. It's only around 10% that's actually verbal. So that's also really important to keep that in mind if you're wanting to become more magnetic. So things like, folded or crossed arms, if we're in a conversation or on a date, you don't really want to be doing this because you're actually closing your energy field off. You want to feel relaxed. You want to have your shoulders opened. You want to have your body open towards the person that you're talking about. There's also a thing in NLP called mirroring. So if you've got someone sort of sitting on a diagonal, you might find, and you guys can't see my legs, but say my knees pointing this way. You want to be sort of more naturally mirroring the person opposite you as well. So you don't want to necessarily copy in an unnatural state, but you want to make sure that you're sort of picking up on that subtle energy. And what happens sort of energetically is there's a dance back and flow that happens between the person that you're sitting with. And it's called building a rapport. So this is also part of being like more, I guess, energetically open and in tune. And yeah, what they found is that not only does it build energetic rapport, but people feel much safer and more kind of like open working with people in that way. So just take note of people you know in your environment and how their body language might be. The other thing too, if you're on a date, what you might find, and sometimes this will be like quite unconscious, and certain signs when we get to astrology will be a little bit more just organically flirtatious. So things that we see are, self-grooming. So you might find like, flips of the hair, or sort of what they call preening. If we're in the animal kingdom, like the rosella in the background, you'll see them preening each other when they're around, or even preening, together, which is cute. The other thing that we have too is, and this is like little subtle things. So say if you're on a date, it's having things like your wrist open. So, if you're intently listening, it might be like your hand on your chin, like nodding in agreement. And this is signaling to the other person that you're really actually taking in what they're saying, and that there is, it sort of communicates this, that you're interested, that you're engaged. A wrist turned out, now this is like where it gets like so specific, but like a little wrist turned out is actually a sexual cue that lets people know that you're interested. So also notice within yourself, if you're having conversation and you're finding yourself doing a few of these things, it might just be that you're naturally organically flirtatious, and you don't sort of realize it, and it's just part of like your persona, who you are. But yeah, look into little things like that, or if the other person's presenting things like that towards you. Do you guys see that? Just in the background then. Hey, Dubs, thank you for joining. So I've written some of that down. So these are things you guys can research deeper. And if you're really interested on some of these specific things we're talking about, I can do whole shows on them. So you guys let me know what kind of content you want to hear. I love to make content for what it is that excites you. The other thing I've got down here underneath that, I would say that clothing also goes into, the body language side of things. So say if you are going on a date, because we're talking about love potion here, so I really want to help those that are working on attracting soulmates, or working on, how cool is it? It's such and I could go on for an hour talking about that. So yeah, making sure that you're sort of open, that you're receptive, that you have like warm energy. Oh, I do need to cover, there is 4 main points I just saw that one too. How cool. So there's 4 main points when we talk about like with neurolinguistic programming. You have your visual. So I'm a clear example of a visual processing type. So my brain, you'll see I communicate a lot with my hands. I choose things that usually will go together, or I choose to wear a lot of color. Normally, you guys see I'm a bit obsessed with pink. So these are more kind of like your visual types, and you'll usually see visually they're taking a lot in. They can talk fast, and sometimes you'll see their hands like talk up here. And they might even speak really fast. So these are your visual type. So when you're speaking with a visual type, or if you're on a date and someone is sort of talking like that, you might want to affirm to them, I see what you're saying, or I see your point, or that is a really great vision to work with. You want to use that language because that's going to build more rapport. If you're working with an auditory processing type, you might see that they're sort of like leaning in, that they're trying to absorb what it is that you're speaking, what it is that you're saying, and they're processing the information that way. So say, even in an argument sense, you want to make sure, and Rainbow Sun, we see you as a visual type too. I definitely do, with your gorgeous house and your rooms and things, you're definitely visual. But yeah, say if we're talking with an auditory processing type, now this is where sometimes we can have misunderstandings. I'm just writing myself a little note to make sure I cover something else. So if we're talking with an auditory processing type, they might want to hear everything, or they might be giving you messages where they're talking things out. But if you're a visual type, you might not be absorbing it. So we absorb information a different way. And sometimes this is where we have bumping of heads or misunderstandings. So you want to make sure that you're like, I hear what you're saying, or I'm absorbing and taking in the information you're speaking. So you want to say things like this. And I can see John is both visual and audio, and being one of your best friends, I say yes. I definitely think you are too. So the other thing that we have is you'll have a kinesthetic, and you'll be combinations. So I'm also kinesthetic, which is touchy-feely, hence why I've worked in massage and worked as a therapist and psychic for many, many years. A lot of empaths are quite often kinesthetic too. So yeah, with kinesthetic, you might see that they touch you, or it's not only do you pick up information, but you're energetically like engaging with someone. And this is also how we make others feel seen and heard. So if you're sort of a touchy-feely type and someone else is the touchy-feely type, you might be touching each other back and forth in the conversation, and not weirdly so. But say if you are on a date and you're with someone who is more kinesthetic, they might give a touch on the knee, or they might, laugh or touch you on the shoulder, things like this that are a little bit more natural. So just noticing the people that you're around. The other thing too would be, this one is a bit more rare, and it's one that is more in masculine, and that is, hey Tim. Yeah, so with the digital processing type, it is more of a masculine trait. You will know straight away the type that I'm talking about. They're more the type that needs to have all of the facts, all of the information, and they like to use words like data, or I need to have like the time, the day, like they'll need to have all of the facts or data to do with what you're talking about. You'll notice these are also sometimes more specifically men. They're like, oh yeah, back in 1985 on the day, and the weather was like this, and there was this kind of scene. So they're a little bit more specific. I'm totally not data. They'll be like more neat and tidy with their words and give you sort of the facts. And if anything, it can be a little bit more sort of on spectrum sometimes. So you'll see that sometimes on spectrum can be a little bit more data processing. So this is where we can have massive misunderstandings or miscommunications. Say if you've got someone who's like a data type and you're a visual type. So you might need to try and meet in the middle. So the data type might need to pay a little bit extra attention to try and understand or to connect with a visual, and a visual might need to include more facts and data. So all of these things, when you learn to speak each other's languages, will help to make you more magnetic, or to make you more memorable, and to make better human connection as well. The other thing that we see, that I just wrote my little note, hello, James. So lovely to see you here, soul brother. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, oh, and I'm just seeing what Debs wrote. So Debs wrote, have you heard of the podcast? Came out of the 90s about the 4 color groups. My friend sent to me what you are. I said purple, and he said, no, you have to be one. Except no, I'm mixing. I'm not sure if you're talking about the red, yellow, green, blue types. I have heard about those ones and the different personalities that go with it. Thank you, Christine. So Christine's saying, I appreciate this information. It will help me to better understand people. I'll have to watch it again. Thank you for this fantastic subject. I'm really, really happy to bring this to you guys. Thank you, Rebecca. Happy birthday to you guys, my fellow Leos. I hope you guys have had beautiful birthdays too, you and Joe. So my love. And yeah, so the other thing I wrote a little note on then that I forgot to include is love languages. So we know with love languages, there's words of affirmation, there's gift giving, there's, more the kinesthetic touchy-feely type. And I know I'm leaving one out. There's actually someone else put another love language as well. I think, and there's acts of service. So when we actually look at different cultures, what's interesting, so at a different stage years ago, my partner was Chinese, and they have grown up from a very different background compared to, some of the Western world, or different groups that have come from England or America and things like that. What I noticed in that situation, it was acts of service. So different people will express love to you in different ways. So have a look at different cultural backgrounds, and you will have like a mix of different things. But sometimes you'll have where the husband's more kind of like acts of service. So whether it's like, him appreciating like you making dinner, or maybe going shopping, buying some different things. And then you might have a wife that, say, perhaps to do with gift giving. So someone might actually feel really, really loved when a certain special gift is given, that makes them feel really like, oh my gosh, you really thought of me, or this is like so specific to like what it is that I've been asking. And sometimes it'll be like just the little things, like little love notes, or like a little, everyone's different. It could be a crystal, or it could be, you know, jewelry or things like that for some people, or flowers. So everyone is different. Oh, and as far as books go, there is a book called The Five Love Languages. I think I'm leaving one off because I've just thought of it on the top of my head. But there is actually a sixth one. And I think it might be something to do with like modern day media, like to do with interaction on social media as well. Happy birthday, Lily Kay. Oh, that's awesome. So, Lorianne, it sounds like you might be dealing with the data type. So have a play around. Try, just spitting some data and facts to him, or talk to him in that way, like more logical, and see how like, yeah, there might be a little bit more engagement and things. I would love to hear back from you and see about that with the love language side of things too. So, say, for example, if it's like physical touch and someone is really a physical touch person, if you're like massaging their head, or you're touching them, or kissing them, or holding them, they're really going to feel deeply, deeply loved. But if you've got a partner that is speaking a different love language, they'll feel like this kind of like misalignment, or like an incongruency. So it really is important to understand the way that people relate to each other. And yeah, it's good to know your love language too. And I can see Lily Kay saying, I think I'm more of a words and physical touch love language. I think I'm the same. So yeah, things like that, words of affirmation. And it's important to know your children as well. So some kids might be needing that like physical touch, and you'll see some kids are like, oh, don't touch me, when they get to be a teenager. So you might be more working with words of affirmation, like, honey, you did such a good job. I'm so proud of you. Things like this. So we also have, I'm just having a look. Oh, so I also want to talk about like clearing blocks and things as well. So with becoming more magnetic, sometimes if we're feeling that we have where we don't want to open up to the world, or we have maybe a bit of a blocked heart chakra, this can also be really good to clear. And definitely positive reinforcement is fantastic in building rapport, relationships too, and acknowledging the positive. And what's interesting, they've found on a scientific level and with psychology, say, for example, if you're bringing up, say you're reviewing a basketball game and you're the coach and you're talking to the team and you're giving them like all the points on what they maybe did wrong in the game. Now you might give them 10 things of what they did fantastic and 2 things on what they did wrong. It's shown that people will remember more the negative side of things. So it might be first kind of clearing and getting that out the way, and then really building up the positive things as well. So having a look with your kids and your partner and this side of things. And I'm just seeing Lorianne's comment. If my science-minded husband would really listen, that's my language. Okay, that sounds like you might even be a little bit auditory. So you might be using language like, I really want you to take in what I'm speaking to you, or really listen to what I'm saying. But if you're talking to his data language, I really want you to maybe like tick off your list the things that I'm saying, or it might be even for you to put it in a text message and put it as point form, or put it as like a list, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It sounds like really weird and it can feel so odd. They're the ones that like spreadsheets and things as well. Um, and I also feel that, yeah, definitely our placement in the family can influence our language too. And sometimes we might not have had our needs met for the type of language that we have. So we might not have received words of affirmation and things. Generally, people will give that type of love that their language is. So if it is someone who's more visual, they'll be giving you compliments. They'll be giving you, beautiful, uplifting things as well. I've also written here with clearing subconscious blocks and reprogramming, which we are going to do a bit of this in the group. So I just want to bring this up again to remind you guys, if you haven't already signed up, and so many of you have, which is fantastic, we're going to be chatting face to face. So if you missed me talking about this at the start, here is the times, the dates, everything that you need to know. There is a cost if you haven't bought a potion, but if you've bought a potion, this will be sent as an email after you've bought your potion. It just comes through a little bit later. So we would love to have you as part of our manifestation group. It is going to be a 90-minute event that will lead into a 16-hour it's more kind of, we break off into our own space for the 16-hour one. I'm going to set up my potions and smoothies and lock myself in a room for the day. I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. So yeah, read more on that. Just want to remind you guys so you don't miss out, because I have capped it as well. And I can see Lily Kate saying, lol, Sol, you mentioned your Asian partner. I also come from South Asian culture. It's pretty cold. Yeah, and it's interesting. So my partner now, it is not from that background, but yeah, a few years ago was. Beautiful person, but just a different way of expressing love. So it might be, filling up a water bottle and popping it next to the bed at night was actually a way of showing like love. So it's often the little things and the acts of service. And so, yeah, I'm not trying to like stereotype different cultures, but you do notice different cultures will have, different sort of archetypes and different things. Yeah. So this is what I was explaining before with the data type. So yeah, Lorianne, it sounds like your science math-based husband definitely fits that data type. So definitely have a look into NLP data processing type, and you'll find out a lot more about him. And I'm just having a look. Oh, and Jabs, it sounds like with accounting types, copy their body language for 5 minutes subtly before you ask what you require works beautifully. Yeah, it's really interesting looking into all of this stuff. And what else have I written? So yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit more of the clearing side of things. And we're also going to be doing more of the affirmation with this container work that we're doing with our little September 1st second group. So with affirmations, having an affirmation, so what I gave that example of at the start of the show with walking into the room and having that light coming out of you, or I'm so magnetic that I attract beautiful places and things to me. So you can actually work with creating a magnetic affirmation for yourself. And there's so many different videos that you see, especially in the Law of Assumption community, that are based around this. You guys know I love Law of Assumption based on Neville Goddard's work. So really kind of like affirming what it is, the assumptions that you have about yourself, and just notice and play, because we're in this realm to play. So it doesn't have to be serious. And this show might go a little bit longer because I want to get into all of your individual ways and how you can like switch on and electrify the magnetism. Other things that you can also do, there's a few things in here I've got with magic. We might save that for another show because that is a show in itself. Thank you. That's so cute. I can just have fun with you guys. I love it. So the other thing that I've put here too, now this is coming back to the beauty background side of things and coming back to what the Gen Zs and millennials are talking about. And I'm just within the millennial Gen X age bracket. So what they call looks maxing is really kind of like maximizing on your looks. So this is what we were talking about, like with the Venus and the Sun attributes. So yeah, I did see that one about five parts before. So things that we look to in, you know, in beauty and in when we look into science and golden ratio, because there is a science to beauty. So one thing that you can do is to really look into your color palette. So for example, first thing that you want to have a look into, are you cool or are you warm tone? So a cool tone example might be for someone that has a very fair skin, but they might have dark hair. So this would be more what we would be like in tones of silver. And then you might have on the other opposite, which would be a warm tone. So someone who has like more warmth, yellow undertones to the skin. A cool tone will have more pink undertones to the skin. When you look to the veins, so if someone has a cool tone, fair skin, and this can even be true in some of the darker skins, you'll see more of like a blue vein. So this will generally be people that look good in silver, and it's really easy to test. Hold up like silver. I'm lucky in that I'm neutral, which is a lot more rare. It means that you can get away with both. So things like silver, but then you can also do gold. And a neutral tone does sometimes have where you can't really see like a blue or a purple. It is almost like a mix in the middle. A neutral tone will tend to be able to get away with any different color. So when I was younger, I did hair modeling, and they could change my hair to whatever color, as long as you shift the makeup and things to go according. And that was fun. Ironically, I got dressed up as like a space ET with like short blonde silver pixie crop. So yeah, funny how certain people could just see maybe who you are on a soul level. But yeah, going back to warm tone, will have undertones with more of a purple tint in the vein. And you'll just get sort of like a warmer kind of sense. And they tend to look better in a warmer color palette. Let me just grab a makeup palette to show you guys. So this would be more kind of like your warm tones would be here. Looks a little bit grubby. It's been traveling. But you can see here, the more sort of like your bronzes, your warm pinks, your golds, and rose colors too. And this picture would be an example of some cooler tones. This is from my gorgeous friend, Bonnie Hutt, who is an artist, and she made me this, the Tea Leaf Reader, which is really cute. She's such a super talented artist. And magical person, but you will see like cooler things there. So, and I'll just bring up, I actually popped a color wheel to show you guys. Let me just bring up my little window again. So when we look into color theory, you'll see on the violet to the yellow-green spectrum, it says cool colors. So an example would be one of my girls, she has really fair skin and she has darker hair. So she looks amazing in like the color periwinkle, or she'll look amazing in violet, sort of more the kind of like bolder winter colors. And then you'll see on the other end of it, you've got warm colors. So we've got the red violet to the yellow spectrum. So this is really sort of getting like a blank background canvas. And what you're looking for is that it brings like a bit of life into you. So the eyes will pop and look more alive and a bit more sparkle. And even if we're stepping into things like white, you might be more of a cream if you need that like warmth. And we will get into the Venus signs in a moment, and you'll see how this tailors it more specifically to you. So have a look into white. Looks really good. So you will have, these follow the seasons as well. So you'll have a winter, which is more your bold sort of primary colors. You'll have an autumn, which is, have a look in nature to the autumn leaves. So say, for example, an Irish sort of, red hair, beautiful pale skin. They look amazing in those like burnt rust colors, the deep emerald greens, and those sort of colors. You guys get the gist of what I'm talking about. Then you'll have a spring, and sometimes you can have like a warm spring, a clear spring, my son and I tend to be more the spring colors. So we can get away with colors that you would see in the garden in spring. So those greens, the pastel kind of colors, and lilacs, pinks. You see me in a lot of pinks. So this will also add to that magnetism too. The other color that we have is, what have I missed? Summer. So, some of those like beautiful colors that we think of with summer and with nature as well, which tend to be the warmer colors. So you can have a look. There's a lot of videos on finding your color. Let me know if you guys want to learn more around that, and we can do a show on that as well. And I can see Lisa saying, I wear silver or gold, but I think I'm warm. Yeah, you're definitely warm. And you can also sometimes see, like with your heritage, genetically, usually you'll see like cools and warms. So if you do have fair skin, you're generally on the silver, cold or cool tone side of things. So you're more looking popped energetically in the winter colors. And they're sort of like your bolder primary colors. Yeah, I think we should do a show on this, and maybe I'll find some picture examples. It's been a crazy busy week this week, so I haven't had time to put photos together, but I think we can do that and it'll really get into it. Essentially, you want to look to the eyes though, and say, for example, like I've got blue eyes, probably looking a bit tired, I haven't had much sleep, but things like the bronze sort of color will make blue pop. So look at what's opposite on the color wheel. So again, bringing this color wheel up, if we're looking at blue, you'll see sort of like the bronze and like orange tones will be opposite. So if you've got green eyes, you'll see like, again, like the reds and the violets and things. Green eyes, oh my gosh, chef's kiss. They look amazing. Whereas if you look more to like the opposite with the browns and things like that, we can see here with browns, you can do soft sort of bronzy colors and things. And even sometimes like purples can look amazing on browns. There's so many different videos and things too. Oh, yeah, that was a really interesting show. And I'm just seeing what Christine said. Strangely, I love yellow, but feel super uncomfortable if I wear a yellow shirt. I think I understand what you're talking about. This also happens with red sometimes. Sometimes there's colors that we just stand out in and we can't hide. And sometimes it's if we're empath or introvert either. Yeah, definitely, Lorianne. So I would say I'm probably more of a spring, and I love those colors. So it's also what makes you feel good, but it's what makes you look more alive too. So yeah, that helps. Go by like what makes your eyes pop is another thing. The other thing too, when we're talking about golden ratio, and when we do a show that's a little bit more depth on this, oh yeah, Gigi, she has beautiful green eyes. So definitely anything like wearing those green colors that are going to make her eyes pop. Generally, if you wear a color that is the same color as your eyes, can also look amazing. And amber as well. Like if you have amber colors, sometimes with the green, can look really beautiful, or gold. Oh yeah, Shauna, you would look gorgeous in red because I've seen you. You would look beautiful. And this is where we can look specifically into the different tones of red, because like a tomato or a tomato, depending on where you're from, red, or you might want to be more the blue tone, deeper berry red. So I'm definitely like more berry stained reds, or like a raspberry mixed with like a cherry or strawberry, whereas some people might be more the lighter tomato side of things. So definitely we'll get into that. Red is a color, as we were saying, perhaps like with the yellow side of things for some people too, or gold. If you walk into a room and you're wearing those colors, you cannot hide. And the same with orange too. I'm not so partial to orange, maybe coppers and things like that, or peaches if you don't do the orange. And my gorgeous Pixie, I have heterochromia, which is a mix of green and amber. You do. She has amazing eyes. So you can get away with a little bit of like magic or a little bit of gold and like warmth and things. And they say this is like fairy spirit, like within your eyes too. And it's like the soul energy comes through with heterochroma. It's like you bring a bit of the magic in heavens with you as well. So what we're talking about now with the golden ratio side of things, and you can see golden ratio grids and masks. There's a lot of science behind it, but essentially it's dividing the face into three portions. And you have, say, for example, I'll just give the example of eyebrows. So you want to take your pencil, if you're drawing on eyebrows, because I used to do eyebrow tattooing and things in the past too, but essentially, if you go to the corner of your nose, now my nose is not 100% straight, it's broken from basketball years ago, but this will be, if you go to this little part of your nose here, it'll be where the eyebrow begins, and the same on the other side. Now, if you go to find the arch, and all of this is about like enhancing that magnetic side of things and enhancing and accentuating your eyes. So if you take your pencil and go sort of through the outside edge of the pupil, this will be like where your arch falls. And if you take it to that same side, to the corner of your eye, this will be like where the end of the tail is. So men are probably not as interested in that side of things. You also want to have, like, with the bottom part of your brow, you don't want to have the tail extend or go lower than that either. This also, in the Chinese side of things, if you have it too low, it's like you're draining money, because your eyebrows are money, and a lot of face reading stuff. That's just touching on it very, very quickly. Yeah, so brows is one of those things that are super interesting when it comes to manifestation and money and things as well. And everyone will have like their own natural brow shape. This is one thing that can make the biggest difference, because you're framing your little soul windows. Yes, what Shauna is saying. So they frame the entire face. I love doing mine with flicks upwards and out at the ends. And it says different things about our personalities too. So you'll notice, if you see sometimes men with like really, really bushy eyebrows that are quite lower, you might feel a little bit of a mistrust at first. And sometimes there'll be the mad scientist characteristics that go with them. If you do see brows in men that are a bit more like a triangle, so like literally a triangle, these, and for an example, I'm trying to think of the man, Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman. He has sort of more triangle brows. These are said to belong to someone who is more of an angrier temperament. Not saying that he is, but those brows do tend to belong to more of an angrier temperament. So you can actually change your outlook and the way that people also perceive you depending on your brows. So Lily K, you have a high natural arch. So a higher natural arch is someone who's a bit more sort of creative. It can sometimes be a tendency to like a little bit more excitement or a little bit more drama too. But it is, when we look into the old actresses and things, they all have the arches. I love it. I think it's really super interesting. More space that you have as well also represents like being more open. So when we're talking about becoming magnetic, these are things that we're subtly picking up on. So if someone's brows are, a little bit more open, they're perceived with that open personality. And I could do a whole nother show on the face reading. But let's have a look into if there's anything else that I've got written here. Okay, let's get into the Venus signs. Now, working with this, and I'm going to go back and have a look. And Debs, you're so spot on. I agree with you. Oh, John, that's a whole nother show too. Yeah, I do use things that are natural and organic. Things like, what's this one? Aninka is a really good one here in Australia. Yeah, there's a whole different range, but definitely looking at things that don't have chemicals in it. Some of the stuff I use is so safe that you can even put it on if you were to micro needle the face, which means there's little micro tears or wounds. So you want to make sure that it's definitely really safe. And Jim, you just reminded me. So yeah, with this too, say if you're on Tinder or any of the other things, so you can actually pick up a lot by looking at someone's face and a lot of information. And if someone also doesn't have brows, because I've worked in the past working with that, you've got the natural brow bones. And so that little technique that I was showing before, and there's so many different things. If you don't have brows, there's actually so many different things nowadays where you can get them microbladed, or combination brow, like tattooing and things like that. It can, there's so many different things, but definitely you want to have a look out for aggressive brows if you're on online dating. And that's interesting, Lily Kay. Yeah, it really, you can sense a bit of character and things too. What we have with the Sun and Venus sign. So I want to mix your Sun sign into this. So I'll give the example of mine. So I'm Sun in Leo. So this would be really, and I'm just going to grab a little chart that I've got to help me with this. So we can go through a few of them. So with the Sun, the main attribute with Leo and with Sun is to radiate. So you want to tap into working with your style, working with a look that would radiate. Now I have a Cancer Venus. So I want to radiate. And it's interesting because we know Cancer is connected with the moon as well. So with this, it's tapping into kind of like a little bit of a mermaid ethereal look, but with warmth behind it. Does that make sense, guys? And I also want to pop in, let me just read this. I've just written a little note as well. So if we're looking into specifically the Venus sign, because we know the Sun signs a little bit more, so I will go more in depth with the Venus. So for Cancer and Venus as well, it's like soft fabric. So things that are like touchy-feely. We know that Cancer is sort of like the nurturer too. You want to also look for, sometimes with Cancer, vintage pieces, pastel colors. And again, that matches up with my spring. So writing a map out for yourself individually. And this is just so much fun. And Lisa, it's so much fun to do for your kids too. I think your girls would love this. The other thing with Cancer is it's about things that invoke like a sense of warmth. So yeah, floral prints as well. Sometimes you'll see me in some little floral tops and things. Think like romantic style with Cancer, or perhaps like a little bit of, sweet jewelry that sort of is a little bit personalized or unique, or pearls even, or little like crystals or things from the ocean, like mermaid type energy would be one way to look at it personified. And I'm going to have a look. Let me just try and highlight a few of you guys. And okay, this might be a bit harder for me to switch into male brain. So Venus and Capricorn, we know that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Sometimes this can be a bit of a business boss look, can look really good on you guys, but you've got the Scorpio sun. So this would be a deep undertone of like smoldering, kind of darker sexual energy. Could be like a really amazing look for you. So it could be like a little bit of a suit with a bit of a like, a pocket square, something like that. But it's like about deep kind of charisma coming forth. So you can even do like a bit of like red or something to do with this Scorpio energy. Sometimes I always see red to do with Scorpio. But yeah, John, you and I can chat about that. That'll be fun. We can do a shopping trip. That'll be a lot of fun. Let me have a look. So Lisa, we have Sun in Capricorn and Venus in Scorpio. So Sun in Capricorn, interesting because you've got similar to, so Sun in Capricorn. So again, this is sort of like giving like a little bit of the boss vibes, but with your Venus in Scorpio. So on a woman point of view, sometimes like tailored kind of suits can look really good, but with the Venus in Scorpio, it might be like a pencil skirt with a split. And sort of something that shows off like that feminine figure and form can look really good on you. Your hair to me is like perfect vibes for like your sign, that gorgeous, like really beautiful, sensual goddess hair. Let me see. We have Shauna with Sun and Venus and Taurus. Oh my gosh, gorgeous goddess you are. And with the Sun and Venus and Taurus, this is like a love for like fine things. So, precious metals, precious gemstones, things like that. It can be like a little touch of vintage as well sometimes with this, but you want to like have like luxury as something. And what's interesting, if you look up celebrities that have like the same Venus sign, you'll get examples. So, for example, Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe are an example of Aries Venus. And let me just go into a few others and then I'll get into each of them specifically. So I'm just checking. Okay, so we have Celestial Sun, Taurus, and Aries Venus. So yeah, we just mentioned, so like the Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, kind of like classic movie star, vintage vibe. I love this one because like when you guys dress in that way, you can't sort of stay hidden in the background. And there's just, it's like that mystery girl, that thing you can't put your finger on. It's a lot of fun. And so like, yeah, it can be tailored, but it's very much about like the brows too. I find with those two, and we see the gorgeous Rebecca, Sun and Venus in Leo. So that's really cool that you have the same too. This makes it super easy. So anything that like makes you radiate, anything that's like channeling like Leo energy is really great for this. So things of like luxury, similar to Taurus, things that also are kind of like king or queen energy. So anything that sort of makes you feel like this. And what's interesting, guys, is looking into if you feel uncomfortable dressing in your Venus sign too. So have a look into that because sometimes that'll be that we don't want to be seen. So this is why I say like doing the confidence work is essentially the same. Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks, Debs. Yeah, I think I'm a bit of an old soul. And let me see. I want to go into a few of these. So starting with Aries, I've written like it can be, and of course we have like the old world side, like I was describing with Marilyn and like Audrey Hepburn and that. But this also can be like tailored to like modern day as well. So with Aries, bold and adventurous, Aries Venus can also be looking for like that dynamic or striking outfit. So think of it because Aries is fire as well. So like reds, things that are more kind of like darts, cuts, statement pieces, or sometimes like, like belts or boots, things like that, that are a little bit more edgy is what Aries Venus can get away with. And an example would be Rihanna, the pop star. She can sometimes like have a little bit of that like on edge like edgy vibe. Taurus, Venus, I've written here as well. Taurus, we know values comfort and luxury, and it is an earth sign. So you want to look at like, is it an earth, air, or fire energy behind this? Thanks, Shauna. Do you know, I've been told that before. My daughter's friend actually sent me a modern day version of Marilyn. And she's like, you look like the modern day version. It was really cute. So sweet. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. But yeah, so Taurus Venus, things that are earthy, expensive or luxury items like silk, cashmere. You want to make sure that it is more of a I don't really like cashmere because the process is stripping it from the animal a lot of the time while they're alive. So you want to make sure that it's not that type. So tailored pieces that exude like elegance, that are more kind of classic or like well-fitted jackets or like coats, blazers, things like that, or something that's kind of like sexy and cozy will also look really good on that. What have I also written? Yeah, with earthy tones and things. And of course, you can suit this to your vibe. So, say if you're a Taurus Venus, but you're more of like a hippie vibe, we can imagine the earth colors and how it might look to kind of connect to that. But if you're more of like the Taurus Lux sort of energy, we can see how that would be different. So Gemini. So we know with Gemini, this is sort of more, you can have like that both sides of the spectrum with that. So things that are kind of playful or like versatile can be really good. So this is for the Gemini Venus. Things that you will maybe like be more a little bit eclectic, or even perhaps you could go with like a bohemian look. And what I mean by eclectic is you might be able to tie two different fashion worlds together or two different styles as well. So with this, you could even get away with, and it depends on your colors and everything else we were talking about. But you could do perhaps like a little bit more of the bright or the bolder colors sometimes for the Gemini Venus. Sometimes patterns, because there's a bit more going on. So Gemini can carry off a little bit more going on, or layered things, or like statement pieces in your jewelry, things like that. We read the Cancer Venus, but I want to put it in here again. So just so if you're going through this methodically. So nurturing and sentimental styles, soft fabrics, vintage pieces, pastels, anything that sort of has that sense of like warmth and comfort. So as I was saying before, cozy sweaters, things that are sort of like pure as well, or ethereal with Cancer, and occasionally for floral prints, not a big print though. You want to go with like dainty, sort of more like a smaller print. We have the Leo Venus. So I saw there was someone that had that before. And this will be like spotlighting like your glamorous kind of side too. And we might not always feel like that. Sometimes like a red lip, you could do things like that. So it's more dramatic, eye-catching outfits, bold colors, even. And Rebecca, I don't know how you feel about this with your two, like the Venus, Leo, and your sun sign, but sequence also fits into this. So anything that's like attention grabbing, high fashion cuts, also statement pieces like glittery dresses. I have one in my cupboard. Tailored suits or attention grabbing details that fit perfectly to Virgo Venus. And we have practical yet like a little bit more refined. So we know with Virgo, it's like attention to detail, and Virgo again, like an earth sign. So like understated kind of like elegance. And we know that Virgo is the virgin too. So think about like the maiden sometimes can also look really amazing, because we don't have to sit just like with the tailored. It could be like a tailored cinched in like maiden dress that has like the accentuation around bust and like an empire kind of, or empress waist, I think it's called. And also look really good. So like bodiced, or even and you can do different things. So it's more like a bodiced dress with like a loose fit on the like the skirt side of things. I've also written more kind of looking into like classic accessories, representing like just more kind of like sophistication and things too. So a Libra Venus, it's about harmony and beauty. And sometimes they're the musicians, they're the artists, they're the dancers. So thinking about that gorgeous like flow, or channeling, some of the Venusian, like Aphrodite, that kind of goddess look. So things that are more kind of like balanced. And sometimes it's that understated style. So it's not too much of a layering of of jewelry and things like that. So things that are sort of more kind of like natural but polished, more kind of like classic contemporary style things. So definitely elegance is one that I see like with Libra, and things looking more kind of like coordinated. Like you wouldn't want to like mismatch with things like that. Libra is very like aesthetic. And we've got Scorpio here. So I've written more kind of like channeling that intense one. I also want to pick out too, if you want to have a bit of fun, you can also like dress for your Lilith sign. So I think mine is in Virgo. So that's sometimes the part of us that we like suppress. So I could more step into that maiden, like sexy maiden vibe if I wanted to, for an example of like dressing for a Lilith sign. So that would probably be another show in itself. Scorpio though, intense, magnetic, sort of can sometimes be like more sensual. So you could do like a tight fitting bodice, a bodice, or like a corset, edgy, mysterious, darker kind of like hues. You can even mix in things like leather or like vegan leather, more kind of like that bold. And I tend to see more of kind of like the flick eyeliner type with Scorpio. One of my gorgeous girls is a Scorpio, and it's all about like her eyes and this mystique. She's gorgeous. So intricate designs can also like, sometimes like enhance this energy and this vibe that you give off in your aura. It's kind of more of like an alluring, provocative type dress we see sometimes with Scorpio. Sagittarius, I've written it's more because remember, this is ruled by Jupiter. And these are kind of the travelers. So sometimes it can be like things that you've picked up along your travels, some more kind of like a bohemian sort of vibe sometimes, or in like outfits that are inspired by your travels. So it might be like a nice piece that you've got from certain countries. Sometimes you guys can be comfortable because you are that fire sign too, with like the bold prints, or even kind of like relaxed fitting stuff. But yeah, it's really like you could even do I was just like getting a vision of like a pocket watch or things like that, or like necklaces that have compass, things like that. But yeah, anything that is more kind of like eclectic and free spirited or adventurer. It's you can dress that up or dress that down. That could be hippie vibes or it could be like sensual bohemian. Capricorn, so Venus in Capricorn, I've written, is more kind of like sophisticated. And I think Lisa and John, you guys had this. So like things that are timeless, like well structured, look really good on you guys. You could even do things that are sort of like a little bit more muted, although sometimes bold can look good on you guys depending on where your color wheel is. Really like high quality things too. And it's more kind of like a refined taste. Remember, Capricorn doesn't look to anyone for permission. So, you know, if you guys like it, wear it. If it makes you feel good. Aquarius, this is more working with like innovative sort of, you guys can be like a little bit of fashionista would be another way to describe it. So things that are more kind of like quirky, futuristic sometimes. And I can see here as well, like some of you guys talking about what you like. I would like to hear, does it match with some of the things that we're talking about? Thank you, Lorianne, too. So with this Aquarius, definitely can be embracing like more of a futuristic. And sometimes this will be like really great streamlines, or you might have, say, like a beautiful A-line or asymmetrical dress or something that's like a little bit classic, but with like a future edge to it. Bold colors can sometimes, yeah, it just depends on like your color wheel. With Aquarius, though, I do really tap into like that future kind of, you know, the star card vibe. So for me, she's kind of also ethereal. She's channeling and bringing new ways of doing things. So she could be making something that's classic into a whole new way of doing it, or he, for example. And then Pisces, we've got dreamy, sort of like artistic Venus energy. So think about like ethereal, like channeled, channeling otherworldly energy in, a little bit similar. So soft fabrics, things that show off your body as well, like silhouette side of things, pastel or like shimmering colors. I find Pisces and Cancer to be like a little bit similar in terms of like dressing, but yeah, shimmery sort of like watery colors. So think about like fish with the rainbow reflection on scales, or like the rainbow shimmery reflection on the water. So things that are whimsical, enchanting. So you guys can also get away with a little bit of a medieval vibe, I feel sometimes. If it's like ethereal and dreamy or elvish, you might like the elvish style. So layered outfits too. Yeah, let me know like what you guys think, how you feel like the Venus description. Now remember, you're mixing it with your sun sign. So that was a lot of fun to talk about that with you guys today. I was so excited to bring this topic together, and I never know what it's going to look like until we talk about it. Yeah, and that's the thing, Rainbow Sun, we don't always feel comfortable with things like that. What is fun though is to play around with it. So like say, for example, with the Venus and Leo, you might not be used to wearing like gold, but you might feel drawn to like maybe like sunflowers or things like that. So if you don't feel comfortable wearing it on your body, just even putting it in your home. Like I've got these beautiful flowers that my partner got me yesterday for my birthday. And it's like a mix of, you know, a color that reminds him of me, and the sunflowers with the Leo. So you might want to just put some beautiful flowers in your environment. It's not that we have to wear it, but it is fun to find out. So thank you guys for joining me. And I can see such beautiful items, not items, I'm getting crossed. So beautiful comments. Have a look at the items that you do have in your wardrobe. This does not necessarily mean that you have to go out and purchase things. I'm so glad you guys had fun as well. Yeah, this has been a really fun show. And yeah, have a look at your Lilith sign, and have a look like if any of the others feel more like you, because some of you guys are near cusp as well. And you'll find it's about making it your own. So definitely combining like the sun with your Venus, looking at your Lilith. For me, I'm lucky that my North Node's in the Leo, the same as my sun. So have a play around. I also look into midhaven sometimes when I'm dressing, and my midhaven's in Pisces, so similar to the Cancer Venus. So I would say look at those main things. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And let me just bring up, for those of you wanting to join our manifestation magic, go on to Soul Alchemy Potions. Have a look at the details for the online event. Again, a lot of us from here are going to be there, and you'll get all the details here. This does come as a link sent after you purchase a potion. So I do say it's much better to get a potion and then join our group for free. And do make sure this would probably be like your last chance to order. I know John said it took about 2 weeks for his order to arrive in the States. So yeah, you'll see testimonials on here, beautiful videos that you guys can see people talking about their experience. And if you want to book a session with me one-on-one, you can go to soulreader.com. This will take you through to Maison Jupiter as well. So you'll see I have the sessions here, and there's the new one, the holistic wellness session. But I just want to say thank you so much, guys. So much fun. And I will see you for the mystical soul reading on the weekend. And tomorrow on Maison Jupiter, we're going to be doing an update on the galactic news. Oh, and Lisa is she's in Vegas, so that took 2 weeks. I think John is in Arizona, and that took 2 weeks. Well, I know you're in Arizona, I should say. So thank you everyone for joining. And yeah, please don't delay. Jump into it now so that you have your potions on time. Fingers crossed. All right. Love you all. Have a beautiful night.